A Ripley High School teacher is getting the chance to give her students an up-close look at their state's history. Our Chase Campbell has the story.
Adina Barnett Miller, a history teacher at Ripley High School, is West Virginia's Teaching America 250 Award winner. The awards, presented by educational nonprofit the Jack Miller Center, give one teacher from each state and Washington, D.C. $5,000 in funding for a history-focused project of the teacher's own design. Barnett Miller says she applied for the award because she saw it as an opportunity to take her college West Virginia history class somewhere they could see history up close.
If I could do anything with my students, it would be to take them to Wheeling, West Virginia, to our Independence Hall, and talk about the creation of our state and compare how our state became a state to how the United States became a nation.
Barnett Miller says the trip will help students better immerse themselves in history.
When you're on the ground, when you see things firsthand, that lights a spark and interest. And so for students to be able to actually see the actual room where West Virginia became a state, to follow the footsteps of our founding fathers and mothers in Wheeling, I think is really important.
Students Caroline Fisher and Brooklyn Morrison say they're excited to have the chance to engage firsthand with the history they've learned about from books and lectures.
To be there and visually see all these things and all this history that people in West Virginia is a small state, not many people know the background of it. So to be able to actually visually be there and see such an important part of history in such a small state is just so interesting to me personally.
A lot of kids I know struggle just sitting in a classroom learning history. And when we go out into the fields and we really look at things that happened, I think it sparks a curiosity in students that they didn't have just sitting in the classroom.
Ripley High School Principal Jeff Banton says he's pleased to see Barnett Miller receive well-deserved recognition.
We're proud of all of our teachers, but Mrs. Barnett Miller does a great job of offering quality history instruction to our students, and the fact that she won this America 250 award is just another example of the many great accomplishments and the great things she does for our students.
In Ripley, Chase Campbell, WTAP News.